Shadow Warrior 2 is a demon-slaying, samurai-slashing first-person shooter that I finally got around to playing, and whether or not you should too is what we're going to be talking about in this video.
Are you ready?
Ready? Ready for what? Boom goes the boomstick!
The Shadow Warrior reboot is a game that I covered in a previous video and I really enjoyed. Although it did have some shortcomings, its ambitious art style and fun, frantic gameplay with its crass humor is what made me really enjoy the series. If you're not familiar with the series, you have the classic Shadow Warrior, which is a proper classic first-person shooter akin to the original Doom. In the late 2000s, they released the Shadow Warrior reboot from Flying Wild Hog, which is what we discussed in a previous video. That leads us to Shadow Warrior 2, a sequel to the reboot that we're talking about in this video.
I've heard a lot about you.
All good, I hope.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Fucking kids.
All of the Shadow Warrior titles, including the one that we're talking about, put you in the shoes of Lo Wang, a one-liner spitting smartass that doesn't care about anything but money and getting the job done.
That should please my accountant.
At least on the surface. He's voiced by somebody who's clearly not Asian, so that's going to create a little bit of a divide. It creates some crass humor that you're either going to love or you're either going to hate.
Oh, if it isn't the poster child for Prozac.
And you'll be hearing all of this crass humor while you're shooting, slashing, and slaying all of the demons, robots, and humans that are unfortunate enough to come into your path. Shadow Warrior 2's story takes place briefly after the events of the first game. It's not too intertwined with it. It'll make constant references to the previous title, but for all intents and purposes, this is a new game with its new storyline that's pretty unrelated to the first game, outside of some of the characters that you'll meet. So you can still enjoy it, but it'll reward you if you have played the reboot. I did enjoy the reboot, although it did have some caveats that I didn't so much enjoy, which seemingly have been completely rectified for the most part in the second game. Also, while those have been rectified, it seems like they've doubled down on all of the things that I did like about the original game.
Someone was held here against their will.
What tipped you off, Sherlock? The handcuffs or the cages?
Some of the things I didn't enjoy about the first game was where you had these sections where you were just really getting into it. You had this frantic, fast-paced gameplay going on, and then all of a sudden it would slow to a complete crawl for you to have to find certain statues to destroy to unlock a door, or it would have you fighting constant waves of the exact same enemies in a room that you've already cleared out. There were some clear padding elements to it that I really didn't like. There were like some times where you had to hide and seek a statue just hidden in a level that was there for no other reason than to waste your time. But in Shadow Warrior 2, that doesn't seem to be the case. You are constantly moving around. It's all about go here, destroy all of this stuff, go to the next mission, destroy all of this stuff. There's always frantic, fast-paced gameplay.
They were playing a little fast and loose out there.
Another big shift from the original Shadow Warrior is the layout of how the game operates. The original Shadow Warrior reboot was a completely linear game. You went from mission to mission, from level to level. In Shadow Warrior 2, you also have a linear story. However, now you have a hub area that you can explore with a shop, with your man cave or your Wang cave, where you can complete bounty missions or pick up side missions, or you can just go to the shop and buy new weapons, giving you another reason to use some of the cash that you accumulate in the game. You also have this teleport feature to just kind of teleport wherever you want throughout the map at any time.
I figured it out when I was training with Smith. It was an accident.
You accidentally teleported.
If you're in the middle of a main or a side mission and you just decide, I don't want to really do that, you can just teleport out of it instantly. This gives you the freedom to explore wherever you want. Also adding on top of that freedom is the verticality in the maps. Outside of the padding, this was the biggest fucking thing that I hated from the first game. There was absolutely no verticality to the levels. They were beautiful, but it was just like you were going through one corridor and one arena, then one arena. Now you're jumping from rooftops, going through mountains. You can make your own shortcuts through some of the slightly procedurally generated levels in the game. Some of this stuff is procedurally generated based on calculations and stuff that they did in their programming. I don't know to what extent this affects, but I think for the main story stuff, this isn't really affected at all.
Well,
Good luck with that.
Unlike the first game, the levels are really fun to explore. You can just kind of move around extremely freely. You can jump from rooftop to rooftop, and what it makes very clear in the beginning of the game is that there's no fall damage. Finally, that awkward fall damage you had in the reboot is completely obliterated. Some of the chi moves that you have from the reboot have been streamlined into this game. This all feels like a proper evolution in the reboot when it comes to the gameplay.
Stop. Wait a time.
When it comes to the story, like I said, you don't really have to know all of the main events from the first game. This is its own contained story with references to the characters from the first reboot, like this dude right here. Zella, a prominent enemy from the first game, is now this big tech giant. He controls a lot of the media and the technology and the infrastructure, and you visit a city that's mainly controlled by him. This big cyberpunk dystopian universe.
Welcome to the shiny, happy future.
You meet the daughter of the Yakuza from the first game, and without spoiling too much in the story, her spirit basically is while you're on this mission to return.
I don't really understand it, to tell you the truth.
If you played the reboot or watched my video on the reboot, this is very similar to how this works with Hoji. You don't really trust each other off of the bat, but as you play, you kind of grow with the character and you get to kind of learn them and they kind of get to learn you, and you guys cooperate, and it's really cool. The voice acting is really good, and the banter between you and the person in your head
Where are your notes?
If I tell you, will you make me a cup of tea?
is really awesome. I really love that dynamic, and I really enjoy that about the story.
You should have listened to Biggie.
Biggie.
The 10 crack commandments. Number 4, I know you've heard this before, never get high on your own supply.
If I want someone killed, I'll say so.
Why didn't you tell her about Biggie?
Shut up.
I also really enjoy how rarely Lo Wang ever takes anything seriously, and what really sells this is how all of the characters constantly recognize how much of an arrogant smartass he is, but he doesn't care.
I am willing to die for my ideals. Can you say the same?
I'm willing to golf for my ideals. That's as far as I go.
Amiona's high priest is out in the forest, spawning ooze.
Is that a euphemism?
Go and stop him, you idiot!
It also makes those little moments where he does have a serious moment all that more impactful.
You goddamn moron!
Because you know if Lo Wang, of all people, is taking something seriously, it must be hitting him pretty deep.
Don't try to tell me you give a shit about humans. Your actions? Sorry. Inactions tell the story.
This is why if he had a deep moment with Hoji in the first game, it really stuck with me in my head. Because for the entire game, you never see him break character, but in that moment, shit's really hit the fan. He's like, oh, wow, damn, it really do be like that though. I really be in my feelings.
If it isn't the poster child for Prozac.
But this is also what really may make or break the game for you, if I'm being honest. The humor is pretty on the nose, pretty crass, pretty juvenile, very immature.
You always make me smile, Lo Wang. No, wait, that's not it. You always make me fart.
The entire game, whether you're mowing down a horde of enemies or you're in the middle of a story segment, he's constantly going to be berating you with dialogue and...
Ooh, Grandma, what a big arsenal you have. I made a joke about your grandma's arsenal.
That is just special.
If you don't like this type of humor, you don't enjoy this at all, or you don't like him as a character, you're not gonna like this game.
I found your pals in the forest.
Give him the crude.
They were playing a little fast and loose out there.
Give him the crude.
Let's just say you could fit what's left of them into a decorative vase.
Will you just go?
You know, from the very start, the game makes it very clear how this character is going to be and what the game's intentions are, and if you're not in for it, it's going to be a ride, man.
Damn.
Whether you like it or not, if you like the elements from the reboot, it's like the game hit the gas and doubled down on everything that made the reboot really good to me, while also, like I said, eliminating all of the stuff that I didn't really love about it.
Hey, Steve.
You Wang.
Hey, that's my line.
Good artist borrow, great artist steal.
Shadow Warrior also isn't afraid to add some new stuff. They cram a lot of different weapons into this new game. You get the dual katanas from the previous game where you slash them and then it shoots out a burst of energy out into the distance as if you're shooting a projectile. You got the same chi moves and special abilities from the last game, except now you're not hitting a fighting game combination. It's been a little streamlined. You got pistols, shotguns, dual wielding SMGs like the first game. And you'll have really cool looking reskins of different weapons within the game. You got a nail gun, which is obviously a DeWalt knockoff. I thought that one was kind of funny. And the gameplay is frantic and as fast paced as ever, man. I really enjoy it, especially with the melee attacks. Sometimes you'll build up this rage meter, and then when you go into rage mode, everything will go red and slow-mo. And this is where you can really knock down the boss's health a peg if you're going through a really lengthy boss battle. And like I mentioned in the previous game, in the reboot, the melee in this game is just really good in a way that I don't think a lot of first-person shooters really nail. The sword combat just feels fun to do. You can slash enemies up into different pieces. You get these gore and dismemberment effects everywhere, and this translates into the visual of the game overall, which is just really beautiful, just like the reboot, but again, even better.
Oh my gosh, I am so impressed.
You get all the new verticality of the levels, you get all of these really nice lighting and particle effects. There's just so much detail crammed into these levels, it's insane. You go into a bedroom and there's just boxes and lamps and shelves and walls that you can destroy everywhere. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I was really drunk at this point when I was recording this video, and you're gonna notice that, so I just wanted to preface it and apologize ahead of time. And the most impressive thing about this game, at least at the time, is that it was running buttery smooth on PC and all of the consoles that it was released on at the time. I remember when I first saw preview images of this game on Steam before I had ever played it, and I was like, this game almost looks too good to be true. Like, there's no way the game plays as good as it's looking in these screenshots, but honestly, I think it comes pretty damn close, man. It looks great. Outside of a few things getting a little muddy, like you get these special attribute add-ons that you can add to your weapons. You get these perk card abilities that you'll pick up throughout the level and add to your weapons, like a fire environmental attack, and then you get a different attribute like more damage or more ammo capacity, and you just get a million of these different attribute cards, and it kind of gets confusing as to what are duplicates, what should you put on where.
How long do we have to do this for?
You can stack up like 3 of these attribute cards at a time. And then on top of your weapon attributes, you have your player progression where you can upgrade your skill trees and your perks to get certain attributes. And I feel like this was just a little overwhelming in my head. When all you're thinking about is fast-paced, go, jump into the level and shoot everything. You're not worried about specifically, strategically upgrade your player to have this, and then upgrade your weapon to have this, and this specific environmental attack for this weapon. It's good that the option is there. There's just so much going on that I wish some of that was just automated in the ranking system.
I'm gonna upgrade you from worthless piece of shit to just plain old piece of shit.
Of course I do have some nitpicks, like I feel like the UI could have been cleaned up a little bit. Sometimes the story elements with all of the characters they introduced got a little overwhelming.
She wants me to tell you she's going to miss 4 o'clock club today.
Shit. My word.
What the fuck is 4 o'clock club?
The gameplay, like as far as the sound effects go, could have had a little more punch behind it sometimes, but overall though, I wouldn't say any of these elements made the game completely unenjoyable for me. I'm a big ending-oriented person. I remember a lot about a game's ending, and with this one, I felt a little bit disappointed with it and a little bit confused. I was like, wait, what just happened again? Like, I had stayed up all night playing through and finishing this game, and then I was like at the very end, and I was like, wait, that was the end? I mean, it was okay, but it was also just a little confusing at the same time. I was like, man, I just worked my ass off for that?
I think she was holding out on me.
Of course I was holding out on you, you evil bitch.
What's so funny?
Nothing. Private joke.
But I think the gameplay is good. I think the voice acting with the characters are good, and I think the story is good enough to merit you playing through it. And on top of the main story that you're going to play through, you have side missions and other content that you can play to earn money and rank up as you progress. You'll earn new weapons and new abilities as you're playing through these story missions and these side missions. I didn't play a whole lot of side missions, just a few at a time to really get a feel for it, but other than that, I really just enjoyed playing through the main story stuff. And even then, I still had a fair bit of time spent with this game.
The way of the Wang is long and hard and ribbed for her pleasure.
I see.
Well, good luck with that.
Love it or hate it, there was clearly a lot of passion put into Shadow Warrior 2, and I really enjoyed it. There's also just a ton of stuff I didn't talk about, like the numerous Easter eggs that are in this game. I was stumbling through the Wang cave, and I discovered a room that was a developer room that kind of showed off all of the developers from Wild Flying Hog. There's a lot of little Easter eggs like this that just kind of show the developers were having fun with it, and they cared about the material that they were working with. You may not like the Shadow Warrior series, and I understand that, but if you dig any part of it, you should definitely give this one a shot.
This is my old stomping ground, sweetie. Oh crap, that sounded like you, didn't it?
And now that you're done here, you can go watch the Shadow Warrior reboot to get up to speed with the series. Shout out to these guys right here. You can join my members tab for exclusive content, and you can go watch some more retrospectives of mine to tell YouTube that I have more repeat viewers. It's been T. See you later.